that don't know me, my name is Angie. I am the owner and founder of Ohana Investment Partners. And one of the things that I will be doing as part of the process in education is doing these webinars. So they'll be hosted, there'll be 2 a month. So they will be on alternating weeks that you receive the newsletter. So you'll get a newsletter one week with some information on multifamily and passive investing, commercial deals, things like that. And then these webinars will be the following week. So you'll have something kind of every other week. So feel free to, if you can't make the webinar and the time doesn't work for you, we did do a noon webinar 2 weeks from today. So that may be a little more accommodating for people that are still working and want that lunch hour. But if you can't make it, still go ahead and register, because as long as you register, you will get a copy of the recording. So if it's a topic you're interested in, register. So that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. These webinars are really here. They're for you to provide you with really digestible bits of information on multifamily, on commercial investing, passive investing, all those wonderful things. I truly believe passive real estate investing is magical. So my goal, and part of the reason I created Ohana Investment Partners, is to bring that magic to as many people as humanly possible, because you really can create so much wealth through passive real estate investing, and it can change the future for you and also your family. So these webinars are designed to be 15 to maybe 20 minutes. So they're definitely on the shorter side, something you can listen to the recording or pop in. But really, we just want to keep them digestible and to get the information to you. So let's get started. What type of investor are you? There are 3 types of income. So we have active income, we have residual income, and we have passive income. So we're going to talk about each of these types of income. Active income is something that you get either from your employer, or if you own a business, possibly through your business, in exchange for your efforts, and requires some type of activity or you doing something in order to get money, right? So when you stop, the income stops. So for instance, I started wholesaling when I got into real estate investing. And so for those of you that don't know, that's basically getting a property under contract and finding a buyer and assigning that contract over to them. So it is a really active way to be part of real estate investing. So once you get the property under contract and you find the buyer, you close, you get your assignment fee, you do it again, right? And you do it again, and you do it again. So part of the reason I left corporate America, as I started getting into real estate investing, and wholesaling was great, but I found that, you know, I wanted freedom of time and money, right? And so I got that. I got the freedom of money through wholesaling. I didn't as much get the freedom of time, although I did get much more freedom of time because I own my own business. But wholesaling is really active. So you go through the process and you do it again and again. And so I realized within the past year or so that I basically left one hamster wheel for another hamster wheel. And that's what, if you feel like you're on a constant hamster wheel, right? Or you're working for more money, that is active income. So next we're going to talk about residual income. So residual income is something that you do the work up front and you receive the money continually after it's done, right? So if someone writes a book and then they get money off their book sales, that's residual income. If there's a lot of subscription services right now, right? So even if you think of Netflix, right? They do the work up front to bring you in as a client or a customer, and then they get the residual income every month. So some coaching services, right? Or some subscription services, they do the work up front. Maybe they build the product or the course, and then you're paying a monthly fee to get access to that. That's residual income. Passive income is, I think, the best, right? This is where magic comes in. So passive income is earned with very little effort and continues to flow even when you're not working. So that's the really most important part, right? Continues to flow even when you're not working and with very little effort. Real estate investments are one of the most stable sources of passive income because you have that asset backing you, right? So it is one of the most stable sources of passive income. It's awesome. I love it. So when you're looking at active versus passive, right? So there's not a ton of residual income in real estate investing. There is some, but mainly we're going to focus on active versus passive, excuse me. So you have to figure out which one's right for you, and the right answer for you may be both. Quite frankly, the right answer for me is both. I do both. I do active investing and I do passive investing. And I really like the combination of both. It helps me diversify both my time, my energy, and my money. But we're going to talk about 10 factors to help you decide which path is right for you, because this is all about you. This is not a cookie cutter answer, right? So this should be focused on you and your financial, family, and personal goals. So tenants, termites, and toilets. So do you want to make improvements? Do you want to field calls about repairs? Do you want to call at 4 a.m. because someone has overflowed the toilet? Do you want to, even if you have property management, do you want to, I had a call before I started this webinar with my property manager and I had to approve an expense, right? Do you want to do that? Do you want to put capital into a project? We also talked about a renovation we have to do on a mobile home. It's more than we thought it would be because of cost of materials, right? So do you want that active piece? If you do, then active investing may be a really good option for you. If you don't, you're like, no, I don't want to dump more money into it. I don't want to field the phone calls. I don't want to deal with it, right? I kind of want that set it and forget it mode. Then passive investing may be the right answer for you. And then you have to look at time. So active investments, active real estate investments require more time and management, both during the acquisition portion and throughout the project lifecycle. So throughout this, I'll go back, and my most recent acquisition was of a small mobile home park. So just getting that property under contract and then going through the due diligence of it, getting all the paperwork, getting the loan, getting everything ready for closing, doing the walkthrough, it was a lot of work. It was very active. So I was very active in it. And then now that we're going through the project life cycle and the asset management, it's also really active. Those were the phone calls I just had before. So you have to look at your time, right? But I'm doing real estate investing full time. So that's where my time comes from. Now, rewind back to 2018, and when I was still in corporate America doing pharmaceutical sales, would I have the time and energy to do that? And the answer was absolutely not, right? So you have to figure out what's best for you. And while passive investings only require a little bit of time up front during the research phase, if you're working full time or you have another business you're running, they may be a better fit for you than active investments. Okay, involvement. So how hands-on do you want to be? How hands-on do you want to be? Do you want to manage the property? Do you want to field tenant requests? Do you want to pick your tenant requests, right? Do you want to pick your tenants? Do you want to screen them yourself? Do you want to schedule maintenance and repair appointments? Do you want to pick out colors and fixtures for renovations you're doing? If all of that stuff, you're like, yes, I want to be part of that, maybe active is better for you. But if you're saying, no, I don't care, then maybe passive is better for you, right? And these are all things that you just have to consider. And you may have some answers maybe really clear and some may not. And again, it's not active or passive. Your answer could be both. And you just have to figure out what the right balance is for you. And then number 4 is profits. With active investing, you're likely going to either be the only owner of the property or you're going to have a small handful of partners, maybe 1 or 2, right? So you're going to get the lion's share of the profit. But you have to weigh that against all the time and effort and energy invested and your initial capital, your capital outlay, and then your capital expenditures as the project is being asset managed. With passive investing, the profits are distributed among many investors. So you may have 20 investors, you may have 100 investors. But what's great about passive investing, specifically when you're talking about commercial properties or multifamily or syndications, is it's typically a larger amount. So you're dividing it amongst more people, but it is a larger amount. because you're talking potentially about millions of dollars, right? Instead of maybe $100,000 or $200,000. And then also, depending on the situation, so I'll use syndication for an example, depending on the situation, and we're going to talk about syndications as part of this webinar series, because it's important for you to understand what a syndication is and what roles people are playing. But if you are passively investing in a syndication, you are a limited partner, right? So LP for short. So you're a limited partner. So the splits between the general partners, which are the operators, and the limited partners, which are typically the financial investors, the splits can vary. They may be 50-50. They may be 60-40 and weighed in the limited partner's favor. They may be 70-30, right? So there are very different splits depending on the asset, depending on the GP or general partner team and the operators and what's going on with that project. So just understand that. And so as you start reviewing opportunities and offerings, you want to look at that split and understand what you would be putting in and what your split would be as an LP or a limited partner. Expenses, that's number 5. So active real estate investors will have to handle, right? So we have hurricane season. I'm in Florida. We have hurricane season. So if you have a hurricane claim, right, or you're fighting against your insurance company to get a new roof or whatever that is, you have to handle that if you are active in real estate investing. You have to handle repairs. You have to handle any CapEx, which is capital expenditures. So that is on you as the owner. With passive investing, you make one investment once. That's it. So your initial investment is laid out in the paperwork. So whether that's $50,000, $25,000, $100,000, whatever that is, you make that investment and that's it. That's all that's required of you for that specific project or that specific asset for syndication. So, and then, that's what you're in for, right? So you're not going to get a call asking for 25 grand in a couple weeks or an extra 10 or 15 grand. So risk and liability. With active investing, if things go south, you may be personally held liable. And it depends on how you hold the property, how the property was purchased, whether it's in an LLC or an entity or a land trust or in your personal name, who's the guarantor on the loan, what terms are negotiated with the lender. So you may have the potential, if something happens, right, and things go south, to potentially lose the property and potentially more depending on how that asset was purchased. And it all depends on how things are set up and purchased, right, or how the entity's set up. But with passive investing, your liability is limited only to that investment, right? So we talked about 25, 50, 100, whatever it is. That's your liability, right? It's limited to the capital you invest, and that's it. And your risk can be further mitigated by choosing a team you feel comfortable with and people that you know, like, and trust and have a proven track record, right? So you're going to do some due diligence. You're going to do some research up front. And we'll walk through also what that looks like, not today, but in future webinars. Paperwork. Active investments are really paperwork heavy. I cannot tell you, it was right before we went on spring break. I was really grateful for spring break because as we're closing on our mobile home park, I literally spent the week before we left combing through legal docs with my attorney, with the lender, negotiating, renegotiating, going back and forth, going through all the due diligence docs, the financials, everything. And that's not my favorite part of real estate investing. So I thought I was going to lose my mind for a little bit. Paperwork can be really labor intensive. And then you have rental agreements, right? So you have to keep track of your rental agreements, your bookkeeping, and your taxes. Or passive investing, you sign a PPM or a private placement memorandum, which is part of what you would do as looking at an offering and putting an initial investment in. You would sign a private placement memorandum or PPM to invest in the property. You may have to sign a commitment letter at some point, but that's pretty much it. And we'll get to the tax point. I think that's the next slide, but that's pretty much it up front. Super simple. And then your team. As an active real estate investor, you have to build your own team. So that may include brokers, that may include property managers, that may include contractors, handymen, whatever it is, right? Title companies. This can take a lot of trial and error. And I will tell you, we did a flip not too long ago, and we had the wrong contractor. It was a really great lesson. We had the wrong contractor, but you kind of live and learn through it, right? So when you're active in real estate investing, you have to build your own team, and you have to figure out that's going to work or that's not, right? So as a passive investor, you rely on the experience of the deal sponsor or the operators, right? Or the general partner team. And the sponsors and operators are the experts, and they typically have a team set up, both for asset and property management. So they're going to have multiple teams, people that are already vetted, that have gone through the process, that have provided their track record, and they've looked at their success. So you don't have to go through building your own team, because that takes time, effort, energy. And oh, by the way, when you choose the wrong person or the wrong contractor, it does cost money. Diversification. With active investing, you need to be an expert in the market and the asset class you're investing in. If you're investing outside of your local area, you need to research the market. You have to find boots on the ground, right? You have to look at employers coming into the area. What is the population growth? You have a lot of work to do up front. With passive investing, it's easy to diversify across multiple markets because you don't have to start from scratch with each market and do the work. You're investing with teams that have already done the work and have already designated those markets as great current existing markets for commercial or multifamily deals. That's right. And so they've already built local, really strong teams and have processes in place in those markets. So it's really easy to diversify and say, okay, I want to invest in North Carolina, and I want to invest in Florida, and yes, Georgia works for me, right? Or whatever it is. Taxes. As an active investor, you are responsible for your bookkeeping, or you're responsible to pay a bookkeeper. So you need to keep track of your income and expenses per year. And if this isn't something that is your strong suit, then active investing may not be right for you. It is really important that you do this. You also have to work with your CPA to make sure you're depreciating your property correctly and depreciating the value of the asset each year. As a passive investor, on the flip side, you don't do anything with bookkeeping. You literally receive, it's called a Schedule K1 at tax season every year, like the first quarter of the year. You get a K1. It shows your income and your losses for the property for that year. And that's it. And then you take that K1 and you hand it to your accountant or H&R Block or whoever does your taxes, and that's it. So it's super simple. So those are 10 things to really consider and say, okay, do I favor passive investing? Do I favor active investing? What about both, right? Do I want a mix of both? So, and I would ask, think about that and definitely circle back with me. Please let me know. But there's another thing that we have to figure out. There's one more piece. Once you decide whether you're active, passive, or both, we have to look at what type of investor you are from a financial standpoint. So you're either accredited or you're non-accredited. So what the heck does that mean? I'm glad you asked. So accredited. If you are accredited, you have an annual income of $200,000 if you are an individual, or $300,000 in joint income, and this has to be joint with a spouse. And this has to be income that is for the current year, right? Or it would be the most recent year, right? So it would be this point for 2021 and the past 2 years, and something that you expect to reach the same level this year, which would be 2022, right? So if you're making 200 grand and you've made 200 grand plus the past 2 years, and you expect to make that or more ongoing, then you may be accredited. And I say maybe because there's another piece. It's an or, either or. Or you have a net worth individually or jointly with a spouse of over $1 million. And this cannot include your primary residence. So again, it does not include your primary residence. And this means, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of this in future webinars, but this means you can invest in both 506B and 506c offerings. So you have the opportunity to really invest in any offerings that come up. So what do you do if you're not accredited? That's okay. You are a non-accredited investor. So what that means is SEC regulations do not allow investments for non-accredited investors to be publicly advertised. So wait, what? Does that mean you can't invest? No, absolutely not. You can invest. You absolutely can invest. You just may have to search harder to find those opportunities or work with someone that has access to them. So that's part of what I do, and part of the reason that I started my business is to go out and find those opportunities and to be able to bring them in and bring them to you, because that it does take a lot of work, a lot of networking to bring those opportunities. So you can either look really hard for them yourself or work with someone that has access to them. And so if you are non-accredited, you can invest in 506b offerings only. That being said, we also have to have a relationship. So as you go through, this is the final slide, but if you are interested in moving forward with passive investing, then I encourage you to sign up as an interested investor on my website so you can start reviewing opportunities and see what's out there for you. So it's ohanainvestmentpartners.com/invest. So again, ohanainvestmentpartners.com/invest. And so that will take you to a form where you fill out information on your financials. And then you will book a call with me. And it is really critical, specifically if you are non-accredited, that you take the time to book a call with me, because I need to understand your goals. We need to develop a relationship and have that baseline to meet a lot of the SEC requirements so we can provide you with those opportunities and those offerings. So again, if you're interested in moving forward with passive real estate investing, sign up as an interested investor. This does not mean that you are committed to anything. It absolutely does not. And you will never, there's never any pressure to sign up for any offerings or invest. I want you to take the time to educate yourself so that it is a right decision for you and your family. That's what's important. So this is the first step, and then this will get you the offerings and the opportunities that come up. And then you decide, hey, do I want to invest in this or do I not? And again, there's never any pressure. That is, I don't believe in that. But if you look at something and you have questions, that's a great way to learn too. So ask questions and learn through that, because the more deals and offerings that you start reviewing, the more comfortable you're going to get with the lingo. So that's all that I have for today. Thank you for coming. I will tell you, we have another, so the next webinar is on April 21st at noon. So April 21st at noon, and we will do them every 2 weeks. And if you look at the website under the resources page, you will find a link to sign up for the webinar, and I'll post it. So this one will be removed, and then the one in 2 weeks will be added. That'll be done tomorrow, so you can register for the next one as well. Again, register whether or not you'll be able to attend. You'll get the recording as well. Yeah, that's all I have for you today. I see some questions in the chat. You are welcome. You like passive. I don't blame you. I like passive too. I love passive. It's magical. So yep. For those of you that are watching the recording, thank you for taking the time to do so. And hopefully you will be able to jump on live as well in a couple weeks. Thank you so much. Aloha.